Good morning. It is an extremely rainy day in Doncaster, but I'm not going to let that stand in the way of my run. You might have noticed that I actually haven't vlogged the run in a while, and the reason behind that is I'm actually trying to keep my 5k time under a certain time limit, and obviously having to stop and put the camera down, run, go and pick it up again isn't really working. So you should know that I am still running most days in the week, but I can't really film it because it's actually affecting my performance. So what I'm going to give you is a before and after shot. So this is what I look like before I run 5k, and this is what I look like after I've done 5k. In an interesting turn of events, oh, let me just get my breath back. In an interesting turn of events, my watch stopped about 5 minutes into the run. So according to my watch, I ran 5k in 15 minutes, which of course is totally inaccurate. I don't think I'll log that one. I tell you what, I'm not cold anymore. So the first thing I want to do today is give a massive shout out to macOS 10 Mojave. Now, they've really outdone themselves this time, Apple, actually, and the main reason is because of these dynamic desktop backgrounds. Now look at this, right? That's pretty anyway, isn't it? You know, it's quite a nice desktop background. The amazing thing about it is over the course of the day, it actually changes as the light changes outside. It does it by location apparently, which I think is quite cool. When you get to the evening it gets darker, and by the middle of the night you can see all the stars in the sky, which is just amazing. So more on that as the day goes on. So one of the main focuses, So one of the main focuses I've got today is to get the music video done. So as I was saying yesterday, the new song comes out tomorrow at 4 PM. So I've got to get the music video uploaded, sort out that whole premiere thing with YouTube and Facebook, as well as everything else I've got to do today. So I'm cracking on with that at the moment. I think it's coming together quite nicely. I think you'll really like it. It's a nice video. The thing about making music videos like this is you've just got to chip away at it. You've got to do little bits, go away, come back, and eventually it'll get done. Now obviously I know I'm working on a deadline, but it's quite different when you've got something like this because you kind of have to take a little bit of a break. A little bit like writing the song in the first place. I really do enjoy video editing, but it takes a lot out of you, watching the same clips over and over again, hearing the same song. So yeah, kettle's going on. Now I want to talk to you about this, which is a meditation stool that my dad has made that I'm currently sat on. And it's quite a clever thing, because those of you who practice mindfulness will know that some days, particularly when it's quite wintry, it's quite difficult to actually stay awake as you meditate. So the idea behind it is that it leans you slightly forward and you're sat in like a kneeling position, and you do remain quite aware as you meditate. And I noticed yesterday that as I did it, I did start to drop off at one point, and as I started to fall forward, my body went, "You're falling, Geoff, don't do that." And I immediately became quite awake again. And I believe the plan is for Dad to make me one of my own, which will be really nice. But in the meantime, I'm borrowing his. And it is really good to meditate with. I would strongly recommend a meditation stool. I know it gets dark at like 4 o'clock now, but the sunsets really are stunning. Such a beautiful sight. Really simple thing, you see it every single day, but it's really pretty. This is slowly turning into one of my favourite mugs actually. It feels like exactly the right size for a good cup of tea. The material's not so thin that you burn your hands when you hold it, so you can get a little bit of heat through. But it's also not so heavy that it's ridiculous to hold. So earlier I was talking about the idea of chipping away at things, you know, long-term investment. And I've recently come to realise that basically everything in my life is about long-term investment. So for example, being a musician is all about long-term investment. You have to put in a lot of practice time over a period of time to get better. You can't just suddenly sit down and play for 3 days and then never practice again. Exercise is exactly the same for me. I feel like this morning, particularly with going out and running, I'm always trying to get better at it. I can't just go out and do one run and just maintain that same level of fitness forever. In fact, when I started running again recently, I really felt the difference from when I previously exercised, which probably was a few months before that, shockingly. With video editing, I feel like that's a constant learning curve. When it comes to music marketing, when it comes to meditation, you name it, all about long-term investment. You come to realise that all the best things in life are about long-term investment. There's something very satisfying about reaching a personal milestone. Whether it's, I'd like to be able to play a piece of music, or I'd like to be able to run 5k in under this amount of time. There's something very good about achieving that after months of working away at it. But that doesn't stop it from being frustrating, does it? Because there are definitely some days when you feel like you're not making any progress and you wish there was a quick fix. But then it's so important to remind ourselves that that long-term investment is so worth it for those milestones and for those moments where you look back and think, actually, I'm really glad I did that. I'm sure I read something on Twitter the other day that was along the lines of, do something today that would make your future self proud of you. And I think that's a really good way of looking at it. And it can get frustrating chipping away, trying to achieve something day after day. But to me, that's one of the most exciting things about life, the fact that there is no end game. I know that I will never be satisfied with how good I am as a musician. And sometimes I sit down at the piano and I think, I am terrible at this. Why am I doing this? And other days I think, I'm on a journey, I'm heading somewhere. And just a little something to close this on. I remember when I started doing Couch to 5K, I hadn't really run at all at that point. And I found it a really good program because it'd give you little tips and hints and words of inspiration before you started running. And I think it was the second week, which I would argue was probably the hardest, particularly for a total beginner, because you've done the first week and you don't realise how tired you're going to be at that particular point. And you're just like, what's the point in doing this? Why am I going out and running 3 times a week? And the hint said, remember, you're lapping everybody else on the couch. To me, it's not necessarily about other people. The way I read that was that 2 weeks before that, I was the person on the couch. So providing you're doing something better than yesterday, you're winning. So I'm just having a bit of a break now. I've decided to make myself a Saag Paneer. Bit ambitious, I know, but I really, really like this dish. And I love the cheese, it's so tasty. So I figured I'd have a crack at actually making it. So far so good. I feel like at this point there's not a lot that can go wrong because I've done all the complicated stuff. But it's just a question really a question of whether it actually tastes nice. You know what? I think I've actually done a really good job of this. It looks really, really good. Wow, that was actually really good. Very, very tasty. Naturally, as soon as I finished cooking it, I put a little video on my Instagram. I was just so proud of it. It's a nice way to have a break, actually, just to cook something like that. Gets your mind on something else. Speaking of which, I'm gonna get back to this edit now. Really excited for you guys to see the video, hear the song. Friday the 2nd of November, 4 PM. If you're watching this, it's at least 7 AM on the 2nd of November. So remember, it's coming later today. Look out for the premiere on YouTube. All being well, I'll set that up. But in the meantime, viewers, I bid you good night.